Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video on my channel. So this video is going to be based around a Herblore secondary, which I've seen in the comments lately that you guys are struggling to buy, and I thought I'd have a look at it to see if it was something which was possibly worthwhile doing, just to make a little bit of money with. So this secondary we're going to be looking into is the Dragon Scale Dust, or the Blue Dragon Scales, and they're used in anti-fires. Now, because of Warcraft coming on November 20th, again we've mentioned it through previous videos, anti-fires, super anti-fires, and stuff which are going to be essential for basically a dragon boss fight are quietly going up and up and up, because on demand I'm sure there'll be quite a demand for the need of them to be able to kill the boss. So to be able to get Dragon Scale Dust, there are a couple of different methods to be able to get it. So one of the newer ones is the Elite Dungeon with a Zamorak Undercity. That is a really good way to get Dragon Scale Dust just through killing the normal mobs. Things like the Chaos Witch and other Chaos creatures will drop the Dragon Scale Dust. Now, if you didn't want to do that and you wanted to look at other methods, there is the worker in the city. So this is the Melier worker, or the Herblore sort of portion of the city. I'll just go and show you where that is. Now, this drops the Herblore secondaries, so the Dragon Scale Dust will be one of those as well. If you wear your Thieving Cape, you will note these, so it's a bit easier. But here it is, it's the Herblore and Dungeoneering parts of the city, and if it's one you could camp for a while, you could do it in between sorts of making herbs if you get your if you get picked up on pickpocketing. But it's something which will rack up over time if you do this in your thieving rotation, which I really do recommend, because 98 will be the highest, and because it's Herblore secondaries as well, there'll be a decent little bit of cash in it as well. But even though it's probably going to look like I'm not going to actually thieve some, these definitely do drop these in the Melier district. So that is the second method. So we've got Melier district and ED4, the Zamorak Undercity. Now the other way is basically just the basic old traditional way of collecting the Dragon Scales from Tavali. Now if you had 99 Dungeoneering, or 120 in this case for me, you are able to teleport directly to the Tavali Blue Dragon Dungeon. Now I'm not sure what level you need to access this dungeon, but I don't think it's terribly high. There you go, level 60 Dungeoneering, which a lot of people will be able to have quite comfortably. However, if you didn't, the best way to do this is to have area loot on. Click the area loot and then just basically run around the different parts of the area and just pretty much loot here. Now there will come a point where you will run out of spawn time and you'll have to wait for things to spawn back up. But you can kill multiple things, whether you decide to kill the dragons, all the other stuff, or just sit and grind your blue dragon scales while you're waiting for this as well. But as you can see, they've respawned here, and not too much for wait. They can be pretty good, but for this point you need no requirements to be able to get blue dragon scales from here. So for a lower level or a newer account, this can be a very good method to do it. Obviously it won't be anywhere near as quick as the areas with more stock of the dragon scales, but it's still pretty good as well. Now, other things to include if you wanted to, let's say, AFK and kill some dragons in the meantime. Let's just have a quick look at some of the drops. So Necromancy did bring some decent prices to baby dragon bones, but I think they're gone now. Yeah, they're 600 GP. And your normal dragon bones are going to be just under 2.1k, which isn't too bad. And then the blue dragon hide is 1.6k. So it can be a decent method that while you're waiting for your blue dragon scales, that you are actually killing the dragons if you wanted to. And it could be a good way to progress your account and train up the account as well, while killing the blue dragons and also looting the scales. So one thing to note as well is that the reason that I brought the magic notepaper is because it can note both the scales and the dust, which is really good if you didn't want to bank. Now, if you had the ability to use the cape, the Dungeoneering cape, I'd probably look at the idea of banking, because the notepaper, even though it is cheap, it is still taking away 615 profit per scale you're going to get anyway. So the Dungeoneering spot is better because you've got this pretty much lap around the rock, where you can just keep running in paths and just clicking your area loot to be able to get hold of all of these scales. And you don't want to make sure that you don't go too far ahead, else you will be able to lose those. But it's pretty good to work your way around. Just make sure to lose area loot as much as you can. And pretty much by the time you run back around, they're there and they're ready to be picked up again. Now what you can do if you wanted to do something like this, is very good if you have things like bolts to enchant, or if you need flet, or if you've got something like protein hides where you can just sit and do this while you're waiting for stuff to respawn. I don't think it's massively needed, because as you can see they've actually respawned quite quick. But just to make sure you're ultra efficient, just to make sure you're ultra efficient with doing this, that could be something you could be doing as well. But there you go, that is what a full info takes, and we've made just there 60k. although I believe they'll be selling a little bit higher. And then finally, the final test is to see if the Grace of the Elves accepts it, and it does not. So really then you're only limited to no paper or actually going back to the bank and doing it. Right, so that's pretty much the method. Again, with this one, 60 Dungeoneering is what you need. If you're a lower level, you might get aggroed by the blue dragons, so you might need to take some form of anti-fire, and you might also need prayer, and then you might need to prayer, and it might actually work better for you to bank in between sets, just so you're not taking too much damage. It completely depends on your level, but again, it's very much a valid money maker to be running around and picking these up. Now, also as well, why anti-fires are going up, and this is the main reason for the increase in the dragon scale dust. The Phoenix in the desert, and again, I'll make sure to tie in the video with this video. That is a good way to make profits, then turn the anti-fires you're making into super anti-fires. And again, it'll be very cheap Herblore XP, where you'll be making profit as well as getting a decent XP potion as well. It's almost free Herblore, well, it is free Herblore XP, and you're also making a profit in the same time. Right, so let's go to the Max Guild. So one thing I just want to test really quick while we are here. So no paper works for both forms. If you wanted to turn these into dust, and I think that's going to be the best thing, because I think the dust are actually a high price. Again, we will test. So if we were to wield our elemental battle staff, and I think we can, it's a lore as well. So for 2 astrals and a lore rune, I believe, there you go. So rather than like grinding them one at a time, you can actually use telekinetic grind through the lunar spellbook to be able to grind those as well. And that could be another thing we'll look at to see if that makes money as well, whether it's worth us grinding the blue dragon scales into scale dust and actually taking the profit from there. So I had a bit of an issue. The blue dragon scales actually don't buy, and I can actually put a stupid offer in, so I'll put in for 100k. There you go. So the highest offer for a blue dragon scale, or the most sellable offer for a blue dragon scale, is actually what I've put in, because there was nothing selling at all. But this is very similar to what I used to say with refined planks and the plank frames, is that there's no volume on the Grand Exchange, but also no one buying it, so you can't really win. If I was to instant sell this dragon scale, it's going to be for 3024, but I think you'll struggle to be able to sell that as well. So I'm just going to check the margin now for the dust, and again, anything to do with this where you're selling a supply which is highly in demand, check the price first, because more than likely you'll be selling at mid-price for a lower price than what you could have got. So we've just gotten that. So that is bought for just under 5k, which is actually pretty good. It's quite heavily over mid, and we've sold for 3.5k. So that just goes to prove why you always check your margins. So for a flip, it's actually not too bad actually. 1.3k per dragon scale dust is pretty good. And also, if you can actually end up buying some on the Grand Exchange, if you were to buy those for 3.1k, 1800 GP each to crush them into the dust, is actually very profitable and very easy with a telekinetic spell as well. So that's 3 money makers all in one. So you've got the just collecting the dragon scale dust on your own, you're going to make 3.1k, and then turning your blue dragon scale into dragon scale dust, you're going to make 1.8k per dragon scale, which will then turn into 5k per dragon scale you pick up. And then also, if you do have the money and if you do have the patience to buy them on the Grand Exchange, if you buy them for 3k each or 3.1k, you can make 1.8k per dragon scale if you do it with telekinetic grind. And then after you've completed that as well, to create a anti-fire, which is what is in demand, you're going to need a lantern iron potion. It is actually quite reasonably priced. It's just under 7k, and we're going to turn that into an anti-fire. So we've just sold that anti-fire, that's sold for just under 12k. So would that be profit? Yes, so that's profit as well. And if we were to also, again, I've mentioned it, using the Phoenix Feather on the potion, we can then sell the super anti-fire, won't sell for, oh wow, so they're really under, that's 20% under. But again, it's options. You're getting free Herblore XP anyway by transforming it. 14.7k, which means it's really under Grand Exchange price. You're still making profit with the Phoenix Feather as well. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. I wanted to talk through this secondary because it's been on market watch quite a bit, but it's been increasing quite a lot. And I just wanted to see what the potential was and how high it could actually go. But to be somewhere around the price it is, it's actually a really good price. Just under 5k. For that info, we made just under like 140k, which didn't take us too long at all. We've not even crushed these either. So yeah, that is blue dragon scales. So if you are after a little bit of a profit or a money maker for a very low account, low requirements, very good. If you're after something to buy on the Grand Exchange and wait over time, that's very good for the telekinetic grind as well. That dragon scale price, because it's quite limited on what comes in the game, I imagine it will keep it quite well. ED4 can only bring in so much, and no one's really going to do the other two methods either. You might get a little bit from thieving, but I don't think anyone really collects them as much as like of an old school moneymaker as it used to be. So definitely have a look into that as well. And even though the Anti-Fire Potion isn't selling, I imagine that the bracket 4 could sell a lot better because that's what's used in solves. And again, that's why we check margins on everything, and that's why we also look into just being sure that everything is correct anyway. So yeah, if you were actually going to turn these into anti-fires, you can actually make a profit now, turning the bracket 3 into a bracket 4 because you should basically only be 16k for 4 those. So yeah, through this video, I'm hopefully have shown you like 4 or 5 moneymakers all related to anti-fire potions. We've got the ability to collect the scales, the ability to crush your scales into dust, the ability to use telekinetic grind to buy the scales on a grand exchange to then turn into dust, turning a Lanternime into an anti-fire to make profit with a bracket 4, even more profit to turn the bracket 3 into a bracket 4, and also turning your normal anti-fire into a super anti-fire, which will also make profit as a bracket 4 as well. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have, please make sure to like, please make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next video.